Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, it's Debbie Potts, and I have my friends from Keto Chow on the show today to talk about their story, their purpose and mission. And I really wanted them to come share that with you because I met you two on the low carb keto cruise and just love your story and want to bring that out to our listeners, endurance athletes trying to be burning fat, low carb athletes, keto. They're always big topics. And what we're going to talk about is Keto Chow and where that came about and how we use it. So thanks, Miriam and Chris, for coming on my podcast, The Whole Athlete, today.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks for lending our kids those goggles on the cruise.
That is good. You know, that's why I always have extra pairs for other children besides my husband. So I am good to go on another cruise. Are you guys going next year on the low carb cruise?
We are not, because we have children that will be graduating high school at the time. So
Yes.
We're going to that.
I have my niece graduating too. It's like cruise, graduate for your niece. But when they're on your own kids, you kind of are obligated to go to graduation.
That's
Hopefully.
exactly true.
So let's talk about what is Keto Chow and your story behind it, because I always think, you know, for every product or program is out there, people always have a why, and it's always an inspirational story for others to learn from. Who wants to start? Chris?
Well, I tend to dominate the conversation, so I like to defer to Miriam as much as possible. So that's why I was kind of hesitant. So to go back to how it all really started, our son Max was suffering from epileptic seizures, and they tried 12 different medications on him. Most of them just sedated him. They did a really good job at stopping the seizures, but also stopping him. When we got to number 13, the doctor said, the neurologist said, well, if this one doesn't work, then we'll put him on a ketogenic diet. We'll bring him into the hospital, give him some eggnog shakes, all that sort of stuff. And we'll admit him and we'll put him into this thing. And the information that they sent us was, well, it was crazy. I just remember thinking, that is nuts. How on earth could you possibly live that way?
And I feel like it wasn't well described to me. It's like this little trifold that had like a little bit of information. It didn't tell us the why. It didn't tell us how it worked. It just was like, they can eat this. Like, it was kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, he's going to live on mayonnaise. Okay.
Yeah.
And chicken breasts.
Yeah.
Like, that was recommended, chicken breasts. I'm like, wouldn't you recommend fattier meat?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
red
That's
meat's
why
bad.
just dealing with my family, my in-law and my own father, but with heart disease. And it's so frustrating when people go to a doctor for any ailment, health issue, and they come out with a medication that has gazillion side effects, and then they get this food plan that makes absolutely no sense. And it's just frustrating that people don't, in the medical community, refer out to other people that are nutritional therapists or, you know, working on healing people with nutrition. But instead we rely on these people to get us healthy and to survive and not have a seizure. And instead you get these weird recommendations that only few of you as yourself think outside the box, going, all right, this doesn't make sense. How can we help him in a different way? So what led you kind of to figure out that those were wrong and think elsewhere?
The thing about it is medication number 13 worked. And he stopped seizing over the course of like a year and a half. We were able to titrate him off that, and everything was just fine. And we didn't think anything else of keto. And then maybe 6 years later, I needed to lose weight. And so I that was supposed to be on Do Not Disturb. Anyway, sorry. I looked into a ketogenic diet because I had heard that it would work, but I jumped in, just jumped right in, did not research anything. And my early exposure to keto apparently hadn't helped me at all because I didn't learn very much at that point. But I got keto flu so bad. I was actually laying in bed Googling about if it was normal to get the flu on a ketogenic diet. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a thing. That's a word.
And so and going back to the whole seizures and everything like that with our son, it still actually really riles me up that a ketogenic diet, a dietary intervention was not the primary treatment. Instead, it was, oh no, we're going to try all this other stuff first. And so, yeah, that's a completely different subject if you really want to get into it. But yeah, so I started a ketogenic diet, and I was, like I said, I was having a really hard time getting the right nutrients. I wasn't getting the right electrolytes. I wasn't getting the right protein. My fat was okay, but I just wasn't doing it right at all.
And what year did you start this? Because so much has changed.
This was in October of 2014. So at the time, Miriam was doing Whole30, which actually isn't bad. It's more along the lines of paleo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she had pretty good success with that. But I started in the keto. I started getting healthy really fast. My weight started dropping. It was remarkable how well it was working, despite the fact that I wasn't getting the right nutrition. But along that same time, well, I'm an engineer, a network and software and systems engineer to be specific. And I was like, you know what? I should be able to hack this I should be able to find a way to get the nutrition right without having to kill myself and pull my hair out. So I started looking into all the different stuff that makes complete nutrition. And I came up with a recipe for a meal replacement shake for my own use, just because I'm that lazy. I wanted just something I could mix up and not have to worry about it. And I made it, and turns out it tasted really good, which is kind of necessary if you want to have something that you've got good adherence with. And other people wanted it too. And so we started originally, and that was Keto Chow. Originally, it was just something that I was making for myself. Then I started mixing up larger batches and shipping it off to people because I had a website set up there with information because I was just blogging about it. Since the inception, the recipe for Keto Chow was open source. So you could go on Amazon, buy all the ingredients and make it yourself if you wanted. After a while, Miriam started helping, first just with boxing stuff up and shipping out orders. It got to the point where we had way too many orders. And so we started hiring family and friends to help out. And it's just spiraled out of control until it's our full-time job now.
Wow.
We've got a warehouse where we're at right now. And we have 24 employees now?
Wow, that's awesome.
So
what do you
I was just going to say, of course, a lot of those employees are teenagers who just work in the evening. But anyway, sorry, what were you going to say?
Family members.
Yeah, well, and neighbors. And I don't think they realize how good they got it. I still think my teenagers should go back to working fast food. But anyway.
So why do you think there's such a need for a product as Keto Chow? And maybe explain a little bit more how it's packets and what's in it. So Miriam will let you take over that part. And then kind of explain what Keto Chow is. And then why do you think there's such a popular demand for it and what's missing and people trying to do keto? I think it's a great direction to go with that.
Okay. Well, Keto Chow is, like Chris said, a meal replacement shake. It's designed to be a third of your daily caloric intake for a day. And it has a milk protein isolate. It has acacia gum as the fiber. And then you add your own fat to it, which is really cool because then it's customizable. Because we're not all going to take the same amount of fat. And I think that's what's so cool about dialing in your macros. You can have the fat that you need for your body to do whatever you want to do to accomplish that thing. And I think you, especially in your field, you have people that are, you know, doing specific cuts or specific things to get the body physique and performance that they want. And that you can do with Keto Chow so easily. You can add protein to it. You can change the fats, different types of fats, and then different amounts of fats. And that's what's so cool about Keto Chow. Another thing that's really cool is you can use it as like training wheels. If you haven't done keto before, you can use it to start your keto journey off. And then if you want to drop it off, you can, or you can use it just when you're in a hurry. You can make it the night before, and you can make up to 6 days worth at a time and just leave them in your fridge. So it lasts a long time. You just got to keep a refrigerator handy or put it in a hydro flask or whatever. So that's cool. And then another thing that's really cool is we've got electrolytes in it, specifically salt, potassium, magnesium, because when you don't get those electrolytes when you're doing keto, you flush them out and you will be dehydrated really quickly. And so by having the electrolytes included in the meal already, you're going to not get that keto flu.
Because that's a big thing. Keto flu is when people feel dehydrated because of the minerals. So you added extra in.
Yeah. And one thing that's really important about all this is, like Miriam said, it's designed to give you a third of your daily nutrients. So that's all of the vitamins, all the minerals, everything. And we're not using the cheapest form we can find to make money. Mm-hmm. Because I designed this for my own use, and I still use it. Well, right now, it's probably 70% of my calories. We make sure that it's the best forms that you can get. So we're not using folic acid. We're using methylated folate. We're not using magnesium oxide. We're using magnesium malate. We're not using vitamin D2 or K1. We're using D3 and K2. And that, in a large part, that's simply because I'm very selfish and I want the best nutrition for me. But it also goes along with we're trying to help people really optimize their health and become healthy. And we don't want Keto Chow to just be something that it's not a snack. It's designed to be a meal. So some people compare it to a protein shake, but it's more comparable to, I was driving down the road and realized that I was hungry and it's lunchtime and I'm going to go to this burger place and order a bunless burger and tell them not to put ketchup on it and to wrap it in a lettuce wrap, but they're going to put ketchup on it anyway, and I'm going to have to scrape it off in the parking lot, and it cost me $6.50, and I'm going to not be satisfied, and I'll have to eat another snack when I get to where I'm going.
And plus it's contaminated beef that's made from who knows what that's at the fast food.
Yeah. So that's what we're targeting right there, is the easy, the simple meals where you just don't know what to make. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love to make elaborate meals, but I just don't have it in me to do that all the time. I can't cook prime rib every dinner. So this is what we're targeting.
Well, I think it's one meal a day is what we end up doing naturally when you are fat adapted, and during the week is, you know, something I'll do mid-morning or not mid-morning, mid-afternoon and have my meal, or if you have family, early dinner, but you don't want to make a meal besides that, you know, like who wants to cook again? I think it's convenience that you're getting quality food. And as you say, you're putting folate in it versus folic acid's processed basically. And then K2, there's so much research on that. So you're getting all these nutrients that people don't get. And two other thoughts we've been talking a lot lately and online, and a blog I'm going to work on is women's cycles and how they need to change their carb to fat ratio based on their menstrual cycle. And Dr. Stacy Sims has this book Roar that we've been talking about, but that's a huge part for women are different than men. And she says women are not small men, and
No, they're not.
and it's not going to be the same macros for anybody. No one's exact. So I keep telling everyone's bio individual. That's why I like Keto Chow, that you can customize it for you, because what you take, Chris, is going to be different than what Miriam needs. And based on our women's cycles, you can tolerate more carbs and more fat different weeks of the month depending on your cycle. So it's great research there and data that you can use to customize. Okay, me as an individual, this is what my body needs. I maybe need a little bit more carbs in there this week, or maybe I'm gonna have a little more protein because I'm training more. I'll put a little more collagen, and you can tweak it. And that's why I think it's great to have something you can add on. And if people aren't doing dairy, and you do a food allergy test, as I'm doing lab testing with people, I can't do this and I can't do that, and then you can tweak it even more. So it's great.
And you can also use different fats. Last year, I guess it's still this year, it's still 2019. The first 100 days of 2019, just to prove a point, to say, I say that Keto Chow is complete nutrition. Well, let's put my own health on the line. So for 100 days, I only ate Keto Chow. And it turned out really great. My blood tests were fantastic. But along with that, I wanted to see what different types of fat did to my cholesterol and all that other stuff. And the big surprise was actually that we didn't know this beforehand. So most of the time people were making it with heavy cream or with avocado oil. Now we pretty much exclusively make it with butter as the fat source. You have to melt the butter and you have to use warm water, and it works better with a blender. But using butter is amazing. But you can also use coconut oil or ghee.
I just bought goat's milk butter. Is that Whole Foods?
Ooh,
and it's
yummy.
Really good, actually.
Okay.
It's like goat cheese. If you like goat cheese, you like this. Like, is this really butter? I just took a chunk of it and ate it. It's like, it's really good.
What are you doing? I'm eating butter. Leave me alone.
So with that, what you can do, and as we launch a new year and everyone's talking about intermittent fasting, everyone's into keto now, and now it's more of the keto carnivore and people being strict. What's your kind of experience and your own personal opinion on fasting and how you use Keto Chow yourselves? And I know you guys are eating more meat and having more of that keto carnivore meal. What kind of are you doing yourselves? Miriam, are you more the chef in the house?
Right now we're kind of doing just 3 Keto Chows a day or OMAD, because I think when you say I'm going to do this, then it's a lot easier to not snack. And I think snacking kind of gets everybody.
Yeah.
I know it gets us. We have a hard time.
Yeah, it's my Achilles heel.
Then you snack more, and then you snack more, and then you've overeaten. So yeah, we're being super strict right now in doing that, just to get us some goals that we want. And so it's been nice. And you can incorporate Keto Chow into an OMAD if you want to, because you can change the calorie. And so if you want to have a glass of Keto Chow with just lower fat, then you can have a piece of meat next to it and a salad or whatever you want. So if you do want to incorporate it into an OMAD meal, and 1 meal a day meal, then you can. So that's another cool thing.
Yeah, we actually have a friend of ours she's a little crazy. She did 3 Keto Chows in the span of an hour as ice cream. She like froze. She said she absolutely loved it. Although at one point she had to take a bath to warm up her core
because she made it into ice cream.
Oh, buddy, she's in for sauna.
Yeah, she's pretty funny. But so like Miriam was saying, we're getting ourselves back on track, and that's kind of a thing to do at the turn of the year. And we actually started doing this right around the beginning of December, because I wanted to feel it out to see how sustainable it was for me personally. Because if I have a program I'm working on, if I have a goal, and for Miriam, if she has someone she's doing it with,
a buddy.
She has to have a buddy.
Successful.
Then it's something that will usually work really well for me. So yeah, we're doing just 3 Keto Chows a day, because then I know I'm getting the right nutrients that I need. And I'm not going over on my calories. I'm just getting everything right. But then we have all of these different family dinners, or well, we're going to be doing a bunch of conferences coming up in January and February. So like we'll be going to the Metabolic Health Summit. And last year I went to Low Carb Denver doing 3 keto chows a day. And that actually kind of sucked because there's all these great meals with all these people. And I'm just off in the corner, essentially fasting because I already ate for the day. But we're going to be able to incorporate an OMAD with keto. And that allows some really cool flexibility. But because it's such a deliberate decision that this is what I'm eating, I'm only eating once, and I'm going to go for a ketogenic macros. And by and large, what we're eating when we do those is we're doing carnivore.
It's pretty carnivore.
And that we really like that. And Miriam really likes doing fasts as well.
Yeah, well, and just getting that narrower eating window really helps a lot. Because even if I do have my 3 keto chows a day, I'm not eating my keto chow at 8 and then noon and then 7 o'clock at night. I'm narrowing it down. So I start eating at 11 or 12 and then finish at 6, or it can even narrow it more than that, which would be better.
Yeah, it depends on what the kids are doing that night. Sometimes they're off at singing practice or something like that. And it's like, great, it's leftover night and I'm drinking keto chow right now.
But a lot of it's eating when you're hungry too. I keep always telling people, are you hungry? I mean, are you eating because it's 8 a.m. and you had it scheduled that I have to have this at 8 a.m. or it's noon, I need to have lunch, it's dinner time, 6 p.m. And what I try to teach people, and what we'll get to the 5-day jumpstart and how to use keto chow in it, that it's eating when you're hungry and listening to your body. It's like, okay, I'm hungry. I'm not starving. I'm not going to go have a binge fast. And I think a lot of times people that are doing keto, they're still, eating, but they're not working on why they're eating and how they're eating. And I just did a podcast on emotional eating with Trisha Nelson. It was such a great thing that not everyone should do fasting, intermittent fasting, if they have an eating disorder or emotional eater, because then you have that time restricted feeding window. Say like I have people do a 16-hour intermittent fast, then 8-hour eating window. I end up eating naturally without trying 1 meal a day. And then you have your shake, keto chow or bone broth. Yeah. And then she was saying if people have emotional eating, they just think they can eat whatever they want. Even if I think I read this too, a lot of people doing keto foods, but they're still eating, overeating because they think, oh, I only have 8 hours or 5 hours to eat. I'm going to binge. And then they have this psychological issue with, I'm still doing keto, but I'm inhaling everything I can that's keto food.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's funny how emotional eating is and then drinking isn't, unless you're like drinking alcohol or something like that. But I like to think a lot about the feedback mechanisms that we have as far as food and water and salt and electrolytes and stuff like that. If you're an emotional eater, which I quite frankly am.
I think everybody mostly is.
Yeah, that's true. The feedback mechanism for, okay, you've had enough, it's time to stop, sometimes gets really muddy, especially if you're eating sugar and carbs. And like, I don't have that same problem when I'm eating something like, what's it called? Pork belly. With pork belly, the signals that come across that you've had enough,
it's very clear.
Very clear.
Like, you are full.
Same thing with prime rib. You're done. It's like
you don't overeat it.
No, and
you can't.
Those same feedback mechanisms, most of us don't have a broken feedback mechanism for water. You go to drink water and it's like, well, how much water should I have? I don't know. Drink when you're thirsty. Don't when you're not. And it should work the same way with food, but we get so much emotion into it that gets messed up. And we also have a range of electrolyte supplements. We have one that's mostly magnesium, one that's mostly sodium, and one that's a balanced mix of sodium, potassium, and magnesium.
And those are to go with fasting or switching to keto?
Yeah, well, you can use it for pretty much whatever you want. The one that's a balanced range, we call those just electrolyte drops. Megan Ramos of Intensive Dietary Management, she works with Dr. Jason Fung up in Canada, and she said, I like these, but that's too much potassium for my kidney patients. can you guys make one that's more sodium and less potassium? We're like, yes, Megan, for you, we will.
Yeah, that's a big account to have.
Well, it's not so much an account. It's more of a, yeah. She likes to tell people about it because it's an honest product that it's just electrolytes. There's no sweetener. There's no color. There's no caffeine. It's literally just electrolytes. And then Miriam kept on having problems with cramping.
Yeah,
and so, look, we got a bottle right there. It's sitting on my desk of magnesium.
Yeah. Wow. It's big.
And
the little one, though, I just want to throw in, interrupt you, but the smaller ones, I think we should be plugging to athletes, because if you're on a bike ride, talking about sugar, and people are running, you can just slip that little electrolyte bottle into your back pocket and just throw that in your water, because it drove me nuts at races and at Ironman, just all the sugary drinks. Like, if you're burning fat, you're in hot weather, you need electrolytes. So anyways, but it's great to have if you're fasting, because in keto flu, people switching to a higher fat, low carb diet starting, especially in the new year, but everyone kind of jumps on that typical New Year's resolution to burn fat. But how else are you using it, and having your clients or your customers, are they using that as just kind of a daily additive to their water?
Well, and that was like, I was talking about the whole feedback mechanisms. Some people, I actually say a lot of people don't recognize the I need electrolytes signal when they first start off keto. And they're like, we'll get people all the time that'll buy our electrolytes. And they're like, well, how much should I use? It's like, use it when you feel like you need it. They're like,
how do you know?
When's that? Yeah. And it does take a while to identify that. It's something that you need to recognize, that, well, a lot of us, we don't recognize when we're hungry because we've spent 20 years in a constant state of being fed, sort of thing. And we need to learn to recognize when we're hungry and eat when we're hungry. We're usually pretty good about drinking when we're thirsty, and then for other people, they need to learn to recognize when they are low on electrolytes. For me, it's the good indicator is I have a headache. It is time for magnesium. It's time for sodium. And if you've got cramps, that's magnesium as well. And that's actually why we introduced the magnesium drops, was specifically Miriam said, make this. We said, yes.
Whatever the lady wants, give her.
Exactly. And for instance, we'll get off an airplane, and I don't know why I always forget, but I have to pound magnesium like it's going out of style when I'm going to fly on an airplane. And we got back home, and we stopped at Buffalo Wild Wings because they fry their wings in beef tallow. Wow. It's delicious. And I had a headache, and I was Mr. Ornery Pants. And Holly had one of those little bottles, because we have them in a bunch of different sizes. We have a small pocket bottle. We have a larger bottle it's 10 times the size, but we only charge 3 times the price, and it comes with a free empty bottle.
Just refill it. Yeah,
so you can just refill it. She happened to have her refill, or her little bottle, with us, and Miriam and her had started this thing where they take their straw and fill it up with electrolytes, like while it's in the water. And that way you can just suck it down, and it doesn't change the overall flavor of your drink.
Look at that.
Because the fasting drops and electrolyte drops, because they're mostly just salt, they just taste salty. The magnesium drops, it's pretty bitter. It tastes like magnesium. And so it's nice to kind of get that out of the way. And then my headache was gone, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think when you're traveling, for sure, electrolytes, and I know my husband will get dehydrated a lot and get migraines, and I would say, we just travel, you haven't any water. And then I have a lot of people that part of my program is coaching them to drink more water, and a lot of people like, I don't want to pee all the time. I'm like, well, if you're peeing it out, you're not retaining it, so you need electrolytes in there. So having those drops as well for that is a good sign. But for migraines, cramping, just when you have headaches, my eye gets twitchy sometimes. When I'm really dehydrated, I start to get blurry, and then I know, like, I just need some water and electrolytes, and it goes away. It's weird, but that's when you have too much coffee in the morning. You got to add that too. So I want to get into the kind of New Year's and 5-day jumpstart challenge I do on my program, but I know a lot of people do it. And I sent you guys stuff, Dr. McCullough and Dr. Pompa, everyone's getting these 5-day jump starts and fasting. And I keep telling you guys, your product is so great to promote for people doing a liquid fast because you have the customization of it, and they're the individual packets, and you have soup, and you could add whatever to it. So talk about kind of how we can maybe use this in a 5-day jumpstart, Miriam, on the liquid drinks and the supplements, and how we can do like a package for like a Keto Chow fast.
Probably just do the same thing that we did. Like we just recalculated our macros and just got like really dial it into what you want to accomplish to get your fat and protein and carbs to a level where you feel like you can achieve what you want, and then just stick to it, and then narrowing the eating window, and then having those fats in the Keto Chow just the way that that you want it, so that you can be successful.
How do you tweak your macros? Are you testing with Keto Mojo or something each day to know how to adjust your macros and how to figure out protein, fat? Because everyone asks that question, like, how do you know which macros to tweak up or down?
Well, we just suggest that our customers use Maria Emmerich's macro calculator because it's fairly simple. She asks for your BMI, your weight, your activity level.
Oh, body fat percentage, not BMI.
Oh, sorry, body fat percentage.
Yes, big difference.
Weight. No, I already.
Activity level.
Activity level.
And that's it.
And age.
Well, does she ask for age?
Yes, I think so. And then that still, it's like, it really gives you a ballpark. But I think once you can feel the difference, I mean, that's the whole thing about keto, right? You can feel how good you feel. And so as you're, dialing things in, if you feel a difference, then you can kind of know where to go from there, and you can tweak different things.
Yep. And then, so Miriam's adding a specific amount of fat to hers. What is it? 3 1/3
tablespoons per
of
serving
butter per serving. I, on the other hand, am mixing them up 3 at a time, and I'm using 183 grams of butter in mine, which ends up being a stick and 5/8 of butter. But I'm making 3 of them at a time, and then just pouring it out into blender bottles and sticking it in the fridge. And that way we're ready to go. We know here's my food. Here's all the fat that I need. And then Miriam's has pink masking tape on them.
Yes,
because we have all these children, and a lot of them are doing keto. And the ones that are doing keto, they're always looking in the fridge to see if Dad made any more Keto Chow that I can swipe. But the ones that are Miriam's are very much hers specifically. And the pink says, "Don't steal this." But this morning, one of the kids was like, "Dad, can I have a Keto Chow?" I'm like, "Yeah, just don't take one of the pink ones." It's like, so they're having the ones that are actually tailored for me, which I'm not too concerned about, that they're having it with a higher calorie than they would probably need.
Because they're teenagers.
Yeah, they're teenagers. They actually probably have a higher caloric requirement than I do.
Yeah, and they're active probably too.
Yeah, well, and our son, who's the one he's the same one that had the problems with seizures. He actually was doing keto for a while, about 2 years ago. And he still does, well, we do almost no sugar in our house. We actually were going to be doing one of our daughters was doing a date, and they were going to be cooking stuff, like baking stuff. And she's like, "Do we need any special ingredients?
Special ingredient?
Like sugar or flour?" Because we don't have those in our house. It's simply not there.
Every keto ingredient.
Yeah. You want konjac flour? We got it. I mean, allulose, done.
All these weird things. We got it all.
Yeah. But so, yeah, our son, who he's the one who tends to steal my Keto Chow. And it's funny, he just passed Miriam.
In height.
He's on his way up.
He just turned 14 last week.
Yeah.
12 days ago.
And obviously the reason why he is gaining weight is because he eats too much, right? Has nothing to do with the fact that he's eating more because he is
growing,
getting taller.
Yeah.
So yeah, calories in, calories out is where it's at.
Yeah. That's what we promote.
So
Not.
one thing I would say with your 5-day jumpstart, if you are going to use Keto Chow, it might be good to try to play with the macros before you start. Just have a couple of them, see how you feel, and then you can see like, okay, well that had too much fat. Well, that made my tummy hurt, or that had, I didn't feel like I was full enough.
I couldn't even finish that one.
Yeah, so then you had too much fat in that, so we give you recommendations and we give you, different charts and things you can fill out to help you dial it in just the way you like, but it's still good to play around with it. So you have everything ordered, have the different fats you want to try, and then have your date where you're going to start your 5-day jump start, and be prepared to know what you're going to eat and that at that time. Because if you're prepared, then you should be successful.
And you have the soups too, right?
Yeah.
And then
the soups are they're kind of weird. They're not like our sweet shakes. And so we have cream of tomato basil, this spicy taco base, and the beef soup base, and the savory chicken soup. And all of them but the chicken soup are actually based on beef protein, beef bone broth protein to be specific. And those are dairy free.
Mm-hmm.
The savory chicken soup does use a milk protein isolate, but all of them are sweetener free, and they're really good to use. You can either do them by themselves as a soup, or you can add stuff to them.
Would you add bone broth to it? Like mix it,
Yeah,
add
you
a little more
totally
to the
can.
bone broth?
A lot of people will, especially like the chicken soup, they'll mix that up with chicken stock or chicken bone broth. Lots of people like to add chunks of
meat.
Yeah, vegetables, things like that to the other ones. Miriam hasn't had much of the tomato basil as a mixed up soup, but she blows through it as a chaffle ingredient.
Oh yeah, that was my other question. So you're talking about chaffles, and I know Neil doesn't listen to my podcast, my husband, because it's weird if he listens to it. But I ordered a waffle little mini maker to make chaffles because you were telling me how to make them. So because chaffles were really big this year in 2019. How do we make them? And you put them in a little waffle maker, but what do you do?
So it's essentially an egg and cheese that you make a chaffle out of. But we like to put Keto Chow in it because it gives you that little extra vitamins and minerals. And it also adds a little bit more fluff to your chaffle. So we just do, I'll do 3 eggs and a cup of cheese and half a scoop of Keto Chow.
The tomato.
Tomato.
Well, you can do the tomato. What was it on Sunday? Our daughter was
snickerdoodle.
making them a snickerdoodle. That smelled amazing.
Because then it's a waffle.
Yeah.
Essentially, but it's so easy. All my kids can make them anytime they want. They just pull out the waffle makers and just make them really fast.
It's great if you're trying to do more savory versus sweet, if you're trying to not get the sweet cravings and break that sweetness addiction and have more savoriness.
Well, you can use it as bread.
Or for
bread.
pizza crust.
I use the tomato one as a pizza crust. That's my favorite.
All right. Well, people need waffle makers. They're all on sale.
Yeah. Well, those Dash Minis are legit. They work so much better than the big waffle makers for making them. It makes an Eggo size waffle, and they're fantastic.
So I know we're running out of time. What else did we want? I wanted to talk about how to use in the 5-day jumpstart, where I coach people on the holistic method, which is nutrition, that we focus on the 5-day kind of a liver detox, digestive repair. And that's why doing more of the liquids and give your liver digestion system a vacation, and also working on sleep, trying to get everyone to get to bed earlier and stop eating 3 hours before bed is essential, and getting good quality sleep. So they have that, I call it the internal housekeeping service comes, knocks at your door, you're asleep. So you don't miss out on that detox. Yeah. And then, exercising lower levels of intensity, because when you're fasting and doing more liquid fast, especially if you're coming off of a high sugar kind of food habit, that you want to not do high intensity exercise when you're doing a fast or, doing this type of jump start. So it's more of a walking and lower heart rate exercises, maybe yoga, Pilates, some strength training, but not any HIIT training when you're doing a 5-day jumpstart fast. And then of course I was working on digestion, because even if you're eating all this good food, I think a big area of opportunity for most everyone is sit down, focus, not eating on the go and doing 10 things at once, and taste your food, taste if it's this amazing chaffle tomato bisque flavor, or, the thing is sitting, focusing, and chewing your food. And, if you're drinking your smoothies, I think doing it slowly, not inhaling them. Because I think a lot of people just rush and they shut off the digestion function. So even if you're doing low carb keto and working on fasting, when you do eat, you have to make it more of an experience and just enjoying it rather than just getting it out of the way.
Which is what's so cool about OMAD, because then you're preparing in your mind, and then you're making this really delicious meal that's nutrient dense, and you sit down and it's an event. Yeah. It's not just I'm eating because I have to eat.
Yep. You enjoy it way more, and just I sit down and I focus, and I'm not doing other things. And then you don't snack, and I don't want people to have to snack, because you're eating enough to feel full and satisfied. And you should, if you ate the right macros, I would say you should be full for next 4 hours and not have any cravings. So, but if you do, I think in that weaning transition process until you're more fat adapted, is having a shake, or maybe having half of one if you have a need for something extra rather than eating again.
Well, one thing I like to do to kind of slow down and savor my food more. I don't know if it was for my birthday or for Father's Day, because they're kind of around the same time. Miriam actually bought a ice cream maker, and I'll just take Keto Chow and dump it in there, turn it on, and like 30 minutes later, I've had this massive bowl that is just preposterous. It's the same size as a regular Keto Chow, just an 18-ounce blender bottle or 20-ounce blender bottle, but it's this giant bowl of ice cream, and that takes me quite a while to get through. And it's really nice to slow down and do that.
You can't actually eat ice cream too fast, because you get headache when you get in the freezer. Like what do you call that? Freezer headache?
Brain freeze. Yeah.
Brain freeze. Thank you.
Well, and when you were talking about the whole fasting and stuff, one other thing that I failed to mention about the electrolyte supplements that we have, they're not just coming along with the sodium, magnesium, and potassium. They also have a lot of trace elements. Some of them are just a couple of parts per million, but they're really important trace elements that a lot of times are absent from our foods. So, you say broccoli is a good source of selenium. Well, it's only a good source of selenium if the soil that it was grown in still has selenium, which it may or may not. And that's one of the things that we really like about our minerals, or about our electrolytes, is that they have those trace minerals as well. And it's so easy to add them into whatever you're drinking, whether it be water, whether if you want to add it to your coffee. We have a subreddit that's really active on Reddit, the Keto Chow subreddit, and somebody was asking today, can I add the magnesium drops to my tea? And it was actually I don't usually drink tea. And so a lot of people chimed in there that said, well, you can put the electrolyte drops or the fasting drops in there, but I wouldn't recommend the magnesium drops, because the teas are usually very sensitive to ionic metals, and it's going to change the way that the essential oils are, in your nose and all that other stuff. And I was like, wow.
Never knew.
Okay.
but do a shot of the magnesium. Just have a little bit of water and a little bit of magnesium, or more magnesium. Drink water real quick, and then it's in your system.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's great to do before bedtime if people have difficulty sleeping. One, stop eating before bed, and two is having minerals, including magnesium, it's a great supplement, and improves your quality of sleep and your blood sugar regulation as well. So minerals are huge. It's just, if we're not taking minerals, you're missing out, because our soil is not the way it used to be. So
no, it's not.
We need to have added minerals into our diet plan. Drops in your water are the easiest way, because people don't want to take more capsules.
Yeah. Well, and this stuff is already dissolved. It's in an ionic state. It's, you're not going to have to worry about the bioavailability of it because it's ready to go to be absorbed into your system. So
Good. And then lastly, how's your Oura Ring tracking? Is all this helping you guys get healthy and your HRV better and you're losing
it keeps on
fat
telling
weight?
me I need to sleep more.
Yeah, we need to sleep more.
And it's true.
Problems.
We have these
We don't do it.
teenagers who insist that they need to sleep more, and yet they don't go to bed until after midnight.
Wow.
And then we have to drag them out of bed at 5:15 in the morning.
Ouch.
Them to get to their school on time. So
I have a solution. Turn off the Wi-Fi. Turn off the phones. They can't access.
Well, they still sit up and
they sit and draw.
well, we have this discussion all the time that they'll be there on their phone reading a book, and it's like, and we get mad at them. Hey, get off your phone. But if they had an actual physical book, would we get mad at them? No. So how is it different? But somehow it is.
You should buy them blue blocker glasses.
There you go.
I think they have them in their prescription glasses.
The ones that they have now, they
don't. They don't
have that. But anyway.
So let's go next year. You'll be at lots of conferences, and you guys have your own conference. Tell us about the low carb conference you're putting in Salt Lake City, when that is.
Yeah, it's April 17th and 18th of 2020, and it's actually technically in Sandy City, but it's in Salt Lake.
Keto Salt Lake?
Yeah, it's called Keto Salt Lake. You can find it on lowcarbevents.com. We have 16, I think, speakers coming, and it should be really fantastic. Last year was our first time, and we just asked a bunch of keto people that we have met in the past if they would come speak, and they said yes. And we're like, okay, great. So
I guess we have to do a conference then.
Yeah. So we also just wanted it to be kind of a way to bring, something that we're so passionate about to our community more. And so we hold a meetup every single month at Keto Chow where we tell people we do not push product. It's not anything about product. It's just about keto. So we feel like we have a keto community here that we can share all of these great people with that we've been able to meet. And so it's just been really good. It's been good for us and our company and our community just to have the speakers come and speak. And then our vendors, which were primarily people that are around us that do keto, that have little keto businesses. So we have a bunch of keto bakeries, which has been really fun. And then we've had a bunch of keto companies that started here in Utah, like Nush, Nature's Hollow. Real Salt is in Utah also, so that's been fun to have them. And it's just fun to be able to share something that we're so passionate about with our community.
Yeah. And we didn't do it to make money. We actually lost $650 on it, but we made Keto Chow pay for that. But yeah, we just wanted to get the community together.
That's great.
And then like Miriam said, you can find out more about that. Well, you can either go to ketosaltlake.com, or if you go to lowcarbevents.com, that's a calendar site that I put up mostly to preserve my own sanity, because we have all these different conferences coming up. We're going to Omaha and Metabolic Health in January.
Denver's in March. We got Keto Salt Lake in April. There's like 2 or 3 of them in May. Then you've got one in New York and in July.
There's a lot.
It's nuts. So yeah, there's every single event that we know of, we put up there.
Good. We'll put all the links in the show notes, and we also have a discount code WPOTS10 that you can use to get 10% off your order, and the whole athlete discount code. So we'll put it all in the show notes so people can grab their products in time for the new year. So when people start doing their intermittent fasting and their 5-day jumpstart programs and resetting and rebooting their metabolic flexibility, that would be a good place to start. Keto Chow. What's your website? KetoChow.abc.
.xyz. Yeah.
wrong.
You can actually go to ketochow.net as well. The .com was taken by a domain squatter, and they wanted an exorbitant amount of money, and I told them no.
Yeah.
So we're
XYZ.
rocking the .xyz. There
Not
you go.
ABC, but XYZ.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, have a good holiday season and Happy New Year. And we'll see you at one of the shows. I'm speaking at Keto Con. So
Nice.
We'll be there.
We'll be there.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.